If you've been trying to lose belly fat for months, maybe even years, and it feels like your stomach is the one area of your body that just refuses to change, then this video is for you. Because I want to start by telling you something that might completely change the way you think about belly fat. Your belly fat is not actually stubborn, your body is not broken, your genetics are not the reason you can't make progress, and your metabolism is not ruined. The reason your belly fat feels impossible to lose is usually because you're approaching the process in the wrong way. Most people make one of these three mistakes. They either try to lose fat as quickly as possible with an extreme diet that they can't sustain, or they train harder and harder but never fix their nutrition, or they start making progress, life gets busy, consistency disappears, and they end up back where they started. And this is why so many people feel like they've been stuck for years. They don't have a fat loss problem, they have a consistency problem, because losing belly fat isn't actually complicated, but it does require doing the right things for long enough. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 3 steps I would focus on if my goal was to lose stubborn belly fat. I'm also going to explain realistically how long it will take you, not the fake internet answer of drop your belly fat in 7 days or whatever it might be, get shredded in 30 days. I'm talking about what actually happens when you follow a proper process. And I'm going to show you real examples from my clients I've worked with who have been exactly where many of you watching this are right now. Men who were busy, men who had lost confidence, men who trained but just weren't seeing results, men who thought they had left it too late. And what you'll notice about every single one of these transformations is this: they didn't find some secret shortcut. They simply stopped guessing and started following a proven process. Before we get into the next steps, if we haven't met before, I'm Ollie Roda. I've helped hundreds of men lose body fat, build muscle, and completely transform their confidence. And one thing I've realized after coaching so many people is this: most people don't actually struggle because they don't know what to do. They struggle because they don't know what matters most. They focus on the things that don't move the needle, the latest supplement, the newest diet, the perfect workout program, but they ignore the fundamentals, the things that have been proven to work for decades. And that's exactly what we're going to cover today. Now, before we talk about how to lose belly fat, we need to talk about why belly fat is usually the last place people want to change, because understanding this is important. A lot of people think, I've lost weight everywhere else, why is my stomach still the same? And this is where the frustration starts. You start thinking, maybe my body just doesn't work, maybe I can't get lean, maybe I'm just built this way. But that's not what's happening. Your body doesn't lose fat from wherever you choose. Unfortunately, we can't just tell our body, can you just take the fat from my stomach, please? It just doesn't work like that. Where you lose fat first and where you lose it last is largely determined by genetics. For many men, the stomach area is simply where their body prefers to hold onto fat for longer. That doesn't mean it won't go. It just means you need to stay consistent long enough. And this is where most people quit. They start eating better, they train harder, they see some progress, but then they reach the stage where the easy progress slows down, and then they think, this isn't working. When actually, that's usually the point where the process is working. Think about it like this. Imagine someone who gains 15 kg over 5 years. They don't wake up one morning and suddenly have 15 kg of extra fat. It happens slowly. A few extra calories here, less movement there, a little bit more stress, less sleep, a few more meals out. Eventually, those small decisions all add up. Fat loss works exactly the same way. Small positive decisions repeated constantly create a completely different body. The problem is people want the result of years of consistency without actually giving themselves enough time to be consistent. And this is why the first step is something most people completely misunderstand. Because before you worry about burning more calories, before you worry about doing more cardio, before you worry about finding the perfect workout, you need to understand what you're actually trying to achieve. And that's not just losing weight. It's losing fat while keeping muscle, because there's a huge difference. And this first step is where many people go wrong. So the first step to losing stubborn belly fat is this: stop focusing on losing weight, start focusing on losing fat. And I know that sounds like the same thing, but it really isn't, because the number on the scale doesn't tell the full story. You can lose 10 kg and completely change your physique. You can lose 10 kg and still not look the way you want. The difference is how much of that weight came from fat and how much came from muscle. This is something I see all the time. Someone decides they want to lose belly fat, so they immediately slash their calories, they start doing loads of cardio, they remove all the foods they enjoy, and yes, the scale starts moving. But after a few weeks, they look in the mirror and think, why don't I look that different? Because they haven't focused on body composition. They've just focused on making the numbers smaller. The goal shouldn't be, how can I become as light as possible? The goal should be, how can I become as lean, strong, and healthy as possible? possible. And that requires a slightly different approach. When you're trying to lose stubborn belly fat, there are 3 things I want you to prioritize. Number 1 is a sensible calorie deficit. Number 2 is enough protein. And number 3 is strength training, because these 3 things work together. The calorie deficit is what allows you to lose the fat. Protein helps you protect the muscle, and strength training gives your body a reason to keep that muscle. Without those pieces in place, many people end up losing weight, but not necessarily getting the transformation they're looking for. This is why one of the biggest mistakes I see is people thinking, I just need to train harder. They add more workouts, more cardio, more time in the gym. But the problem is, you cannot out-train poor nutrition. You could train 5 or 6 days per week, but if your food intake doesn't match your goal, your body won't change in the way you want. But training works best when it's combined with the right nutrition. And this is exactly what happened with Chris. Chris is actually a great example because he's someone many people watching this will relate to. When Chris came to us, he was already training consistently. He wasn't someone who had never stepped foot in the gym. He was already carrying plenty of muscle. At 113 kg, most people would have looked at him and thought, you're already in good shape. But Chris knew there was another level. He wanted to look leaner, more defined, more athletic. He wanted to improve his fitness, confidence, and feel like he was operating at his best. The issue wasn't effort. The issue was structure. His training was consistent, but his nutrition had become inconsistent. He didn't have the accountability or the clear plan needed to push towards his goal. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They are doing something, but they aren't doing the right things consistently enough. They train hard, but their nutrition changes every week. They have good days, but then weekends undo all of the progress. They make progress, then they lose momentum. So we focus on keeping things simple. 4 structured gym sessions per week, 1 run per week, higher protein intake, a nutrition plan built around his lifestyle, and daily accountability. No extreme diet, no 7-day training weeks, no hours of cardio, just doing the basics properly. And after 12 weeks, Chris went from 113 kg to 105, 8 kg lost, but the biggest change wasn't just the scale. His body fat dropped significantly. His physique completely changed. His habits improved. His energy improved as well. And most importantly, he finally had a process he could actually maintain. And this is the lesson I want you to take from Chris. If you're training consistently but still carrying stubborn belly fat, don't immediately assume you need to do more. You might actually need to simplify. More isn't always better. Better is better. Better nutrition, better consistency, better recovery, better structure. Now, one question I get asked all the time is, how much cardio do I need to lose belly fat? And honestly, this is where people often waste a lot of time, because cardio can absolutely help, but it's not the foundation. The foundation is creating a lifestyle where your body is consistently in a position to lose fat. Think about it. If you do an hour of cardio 3 times per week, but spend the rest of your time sitting down, overeating and sleeping poorly, you're fighting against yourself. Instead, I want you to focus on increasing your overall activity, walk more, move more, train consistently, build a lifestyle where burning fat becomes the natural result. And this brings us perfectly to step number 2, because even if you know exactly what to eat and exactly how to train, there's still one thing that stops most people from ever getting the result that they want. And it's not knowledge, it's not motivation, it's not even discipline. It's the ability to stay consistent when life gets difficult, because life will get difficult. And the people who transform are not the people who never have setbacks. They're the people who know how to continue despite them. So step number 2 is something that I honestly believe is the difference between people who get results and people who stay stuck for years. And that is, create a plan that fits your life, because this is where most people get it completely backwards. They think the reason they haven't lost belly fat is because they haven't found the perfect diet or the perfect workout or the perfect supplement. But usually the real problem is a lot simpler. Their plan doesn't actually fit their lifestyle. And if your plan only works when everything is perfect, it's not really a plan. It's a temporary phase, I'd call it, because life is never perfect. You will have busy weeks, you will have stressful periods, you will have holidays, you will have meals out, you will have unexpected situations. And the people who succeed are not the people who avoid those things, they're the people who know exactly how to handle them. Think about it like this: a lot of people can follow a perfect plan for 2 weeks. Almost anyone could do that. The real test is this: can you follow your plan when work gets stressful? Can you follow your plan when you're traveling? Can you follow your plan when you're tired? Can you follow your plan when motivation isn't there? Because that's where real transformations are built, not during the easy weeks, during the difficult ones. And this is why I always tell clients, your plan should fit around your life. Your life shouldn't have to completely change for your plan, because if you have a demanding job, if you have kids, if you travel, if you have responsibilities, the answer isn't to wait until things calm down. The answer is to build a system that works despite those things. A perfect example of this is Jan. When Jan started his transformation, he had one of the most common challenges I hear from people. I don't have time. And honestly, when you hear his situation, you can understand why he felt that way. He was a busy professional who regularly traveled for work. He had commitments. His schedule wasn't predictable. Finding time to train consistently and stay on track with nutrition was a challenge. And like many people, he wanted to lose body fat. He wanted to build muscle. He wanted more confidence. He wanted to be a better example for his kids. But he couldn't seem to make everything fit together. The mistake many people make in this situation is they think, I'll start when life gets less busy. But the problem is, life usually doesn't get less busy. New challenges replace old ones, work changes, family commitments change, responsibilities increase. If you keep waiting for the perfect time, you can waste years. So instead, we focus on building a system around Jan's reality. He learned how to prepare and track his meals while traveling. He learned how to use hotel gyms and basic equipment when he didn't have access to his normal routine. He learned how to maintain consistency even when things weren't ideal. And importantly, it wasn't a perfect journey. He dealt with injuries, he dealt with illness, he had setbacks. But the difference was he didn't quit. After 39 weeks, he went from 85.5 kg to 80.5 kg. Now, some people might look at this and only see the number, but that would completely miss the point, because the biggest transformation was that Jan learned how to make fitness part of his lifestyle, not something he did temporarily, not something he did until he reached a goal, something he could maintain long term. And that's exactly what separates people who lose belly fat and keep it off from people who lose weight and regain it every year. Now, the third step is probably the most important one, because you can know exactly what calories to eat, you can know exactly how much protein you need, you can have the perfect workout plan, but if you can't consistently execute it, none of it matters. So step 3 is this: build consistency through simple habits. And this is where people overcomplicate things. They think getting lean requires becoming a completely different person overnight. It simply doesn't. The biggest transformations usually come from simple things done repeatedly. Eating enough protein, training consistently, walking every day, sleeping better, making slightly better choices over and over again. A great example of this is Liam, because Liam's story proves something really important. You don't need life to be easy before you start improving yourself. Sometimes the hardest periods of your life are exactly when you need to take control. Before joining the program, Liam had gone through some incredibly difficult personal circumstances. After losing his close friend at just 39 years old, followed by his wife's loss of her mother, life became extremely challenging. And at the time, he had 2 daughters to look after and a demanding work schedule. So naturally, his own health and fitness started to slip. His energy dropped, his routine disappeared, his body changed. And like many people, he probably could have looked at everything going on and said, now isn't the right time. But instead, he made a decision. He decided he wasn't going to let difficult circumstances completely take control. Over 19 weeks, Liam transformed. He lost 13.4 kg. He built muscle, he reduced body fat, he regained his energy, but more importantly, he rebuilt his confidence. He became more active with his family. He became someone who could show up better in every area of his life. And one of the things I love about Liam's story is that his transformation wasn't just about looking better. It was becoming the better version of himself. He then went on to complete a 39-mile walk for charity. That's the kind of change that goes beyond a number on the scales. And this is why I always say, your body transformation is not just about your body. It's about everything your body allows you to do. More energy, more confidence, more experiences. Being able to play with your kids, feeling comfortable in photos, feeling proud of yourself again. So we've covered 3 steps here. Number 1 is that we lose fat while keeping muscle. Don't just chase a lower scale weight. Number 2 is that we build a plan that works around your life. Don't wait for perfect circumstances. And number 3 is that we create consistency through simple habits, because the best plan is the one you can actually follow. Now, let's answer the question that most people really want to know. The question that probably brought you to this video in the first place. How long will it actually take me to lose my belly fat? And I want to give you the honest answer, because there are 2 extremes online. On one side, you have people promising lose your belly fat in 14 days, get shredded in 30 days, transform your body instantly. And on the other side, people make it sound like you need years before you see any progress. The reality is somewhere in the middle. You can absolutely make noticeable changes relatively quickly, but a true transformation comes from staying consistent for long enough. So let's break this down. The first 2 to 4 weeks, this is where a lot of people start to notice changes internally. You might notice better energy, improved digestion, better sleep, less bloating, more confidence, better control around food. The scale might start moving, your workouts might improve, you might feel like you're finally back in control. But visually, changes are usually still quite subtle. And this is where patience matters, because a lot of people quit at exactly the wrong time. They think, I've been doing this for 3 weeks and my stomach isn't completely different. But your body doesn't work like that. You spent months or years building the problem. You need to give your body enough time to reverse it. Around 8 to 12 weeks, this is where things usually start to become much more noticeable. Your clothes fit differently, your waist measurement starts changing, your physique looks different, people around you might start noticing. This is why short-term consistency matters, not because 12 weeks is some magical number, but because it's usually enough time for your habits to create visible change. And Harry is a great example of this. Before we started working together, Harry was in a position that a lot of people can relate to. Low confidence, clothes getting tighter, energy lower than he wanted. He just didn't feel like himself anymore. And sometimes that's the moment where people finally decide enough is enough. Harry committed to making a change, and in just 8 weeks, he lost 7.5 kg. He became leaner, he became stronger, and most importantly, he got his confidence back. But what I love most about Harry's transformation is that the biggest changes weren't just physical. He became more disciplined, more motivated, more in control of his habits, and he started feeling like himself again. His own words summed it up perfectly. I wish I started sooner. And I think that's something a lot of people watching this will relate to, because how many times have you thought, I'll start next month, I'll start after this busy period, I'll start when things settle down, and then suddenly 6 months pass, then a year, then you realize you're still in the exact same place. The hardest part is usually not the transformation, it's making the decision to begin. Around 4 to 6 months, this is where you start seeing a much bigger transformation. Not just losing a bit of belly fat, but genuinely changing your body. This is where your physique looks different, your strength improves, your confidence changes, your habits become automatic. This is where people often say, I feel like a completely different person, because the change isn't just physical anymore. You've built evidence that you can trust yourself. You set a goal, you followed through, you proved to yourself you can do something difficult. 6 to 12 months and beyond, this is where the biggest transformations happen. Not because fat loss suddenly becomes faster, but because you've created a lifestyle. You're no longer someone trying to get in shape, you're someone who lives in a way that will keep you in shape. And that's the ultimate goal. Now, there's one more thing I want to address, because this is where people sabotage themselves. They think, I need to be perfect. You simply don't. You need to be consistent. There's a massive difference. Perfect people don't exist. Everyone has busy days, bad meals, social events, stressful weeks, time where motivation drops. The difference between people who succeed and people who fail is what happens next. Do you say, I messed up, so I'll give up? Or do you say, that wasn't perfect, but I'm getting back on track? That's the skill. Because when you look at every transformation I've shown you today, Chris, Jan, Liam, Harry, none of them had perfect circumstances. Chris was already training but lacked structure. Jan had travel, work commitments, injuries and setbacks. Liam was going through incredibly difficult personal circumstances. Harry had lost his confidence and needed a clear direction. The common factor wasn't genetics. It wasn't having unlimited time. It wasn't being more motivated than everyone else. It was just having a plan and sticking to it. So if you're watching this right now and thinking, I've tried everything, I just can't lose this stomach, I always start and stop, I want you to understand something. You don't need another extreme diet. You don't need another quick fix. You don't need to punish yourself. You need a simple process that you can repeat long enough for your body to respond. So let's quickly recap. If you want to lose stubborn belly fat, number 1, focus on losing fat, not just losing weight. Keep your muscle. Prioritize protein. Train properly. Number 2 is create a plan that fits your lifestyle, because the best plan is useless if you can't follow it. And number 3 is build consistency through simple habits, because small actions repeated over time create incredible results. And remember, your belly fat isn't stubborn because your body is against you. It's stubborn because your approach needs to be more consistent. Give yourself the time, trust the process, and focus on getting a little bit better every single day. If this video helped you, make make sure you subscribe. Every week I share videos helping men lose fat, build muscle, and transform their confidence without extreme diets or unrealistic approaches. And if you're someone who's been stuck for months or years watching videos, trying different diets and still not getting the result you want, the biggest takeaway I want you to take from this is this: stop searching for the next shortcut. Start building the system, because once you have the right system, the results become predictable. And if you want to learn how to get from 24% body fat to 10% body fat, then make sure you watch the next video. And if you want quick, simple fat loss and muscle gain tips, make sure you head over to my Instagram and drop me a follow on there, and I'll see you in the next video.